Welcome. Today we explore the fascinating world of mythology, not just as ancient stories, but as cultural mirrors and moral compasses. In this presentation, we'll delve into three powerful mythological systems: Japanese, Aztec, and Norse. These mythologies were instrumental in shaping the civilizations that created them. This study will highlight both their similarities and contrasts, and how they each reflect universal human concerns. Overview of the three mythologies. Here's a quick look at our three mythologies. The Japanese mythology stems from Shinto Japan during the ancient Edo era that centered on themes of harmony and nature. The Aztec mythology hails from 14th to 16th century Mesoamerica with themes highlighting sacrifice and cosmic cycles. The Norse mythology comes from Scandinavia during the pre-11th century and it explores on fate, valor, and apocalypse. Let's start with creation myths, the foundation of each culture's understanding of the world and how each of them reflect origin through divine intervention and chaos-order tension.
Have you ever delved into the origins of life and death in Japanese mythology? The story of Izanami and Izanagi is such a captivating tale. According to the myth, these two gods were tasked with creating the world. Using a jeweled spear, they stirred the ocean, and from the drops that fell, the islands of Japan were formed. Together, they populated the world with other gods and goddesses. However, tragedy struck when Izanami died giving birth to the fire god, leading to Izanagi's desperate attempt to retrieve her from the underworld. This journey introduces the concept of death into the world. Izanami's transformation and Izanagi's purification ritual afterward gave birth to many deities, including the sun goddess Amaterasu. This myth not only explains the cycle of life and death, but also establishes the sacred nature of these islands and their divine origin.
Aztecs believed that the universe wasn't eternal, but instead destroyed and rebuilt, not once, not twice, but 5 times. Each world had its own sun, and each met a catastrophic end. This is the myth of the 5 suns, the foundation of Aztec cosmology. According to this ancient belief, we are living in the era of the 5th sun, the final age, teetering on the edge of annihilation. And every time the sun rises, it's a reminder of how fragile our existence truly is. The story begins with the first sun, a world ruled by Tezcatlipoca, the god of the night. But his reign was cut short when Quetzalcoatl knocked him from the sky, plunging the world into chaos as jaguars devoured its people. Then came the second sun, a world consumed by raging winds, leaving its inhabitants transformed into monkeys. The third sun drowned in torrential rains, and its people became fish. And the fourth sun swallowed by fire. But the fifth sun, our sun, came at an extraordinary cost. The gods, led by Nanahuatzin, made the ultimate sacrifice, throwing themselves into the flames to reignite the world. Their deaths gave life to the sun, but there's a catch. This era can only survive if humans continued to sustain it with offerings, ceremonies, and blood. Eclipses were terrifying omens for the Aztecs. Every time the sun disappeared, they feared it might never return. The fifth sun, they believed, would eventually collapse, bringing about eternal darkness and the end of humanity.
In the beginning, only a dark, endless void existed, Ginnungagap. From it emerged 2 realms, Niflheim, the land of ice, and Muspelheim, the land of fire. When icy rivers met scorching flames, sparks flew, and melting began. From these drops, Ymir, the first giant, was born. Ymir was powerful, and from his body new life emerged. He became the ancestor of giants, embodying raw chaos. Ymir wasn't alone. Autumnla, a giant cow, emerged from the melting ice, nourishing him with her milk. As Autumnla licked the salty ice, Buri, the first god, was freed. From Buri came Odin, Vili, and Vi, the first gods of Asgard. Seeing Ymir as a threat, Odin and his brothers battled him. Ymir fell, and from his body they crafted the world. Ymir's body shaped the world, flesh to earth, blood to seas, bones to mountains, skull to sky, and brains to clouds. And so, from chaos, the Norse cosmos was born, a world of balance between fire and ice, gods and giants.
All three myths reflect creation through divine intervention and the tension between chaos and order. Next, let's look at the pantheon structure of each mythology. In Japanese mythology, Amaterasu, the sun goddess, represents a matriarchal divine leadership, with other gods being her siblings or offspring. In Aztec mythology, Huitzilopochtli, the war sun god, rules over warriors and is the driving force behind creation and destruction. The Norse pantheon is dominated by Odin, a god of both wisdom and war. He is a seeker of knowledge but also a fatalist, preparing for the inevitable end of the world. The balance of divine power varies. The Japanese gods show familial balance, Aztecs prioritize war, and Norse gods are marked by both wisdom and doom. Moving on to the afterlife, a reflection of each culture's views on death and duty. In Japanese mythology, the afterlife is a shadowy realm, yomi, where spirits are honored through ancestor reverence. The Aztec afterlife is based on death type. Warriors might go to the sun, others to Mictlan, the underworld. Sacrifice plays a key role in determining where one goes after death. In Norse mythology, Valhalla welcomes warriors, while others are sent to Hel, a shadowy realm. The afterlife reflects a culture of honor. These views reflect a valuation of death, emphasizing either duty, honor, or sacrifice. Next is the role of sacrifice, a central theme in many of these myths. Japanese mythology focuses on symbolic rituals, offerings at shrines and sacred sites as a form of spiritual purification. In Aztec mythology, human sacrifice is not just religious practice but a means of sustaining the gods and maintaining cosmic balance. Norse myths involve sacrifices, of animals and sometimes humans, given to gods for prophecy or success in war. While Aztec sacrifice is central to their religion, Japanese and Norse cultures treat it as a means to maintain balance or gain favor. Let's explore how each culture envisions the end of the world. Japanese mythology does not have an apocalyptic myth, instead viewing the world as subject to cyclical purification and renewal. The Aztec world ends and restarts with each of the 5 suns, each era destroyed and reborn. In Norse mythology, Ragnarok marks the ultimate destruction where gods perish, and the world is reborn in a new form. Here, we see a key difference, fatalism versus rebirth, with some myths focusing on the inevitable end and others on the possibility of renewal. Shared themes. Despite their differences, these mythologies share several common themes. Nature worship and animism are central to their worldview. Human-divine interaction plays a major role in shaping the universe. Conflict and harmony are seen as cyclical forces that drive creation and destruction. Oral storytelling and symbolism help preserve and communicate these ideas for generations. Key differences. Here's a quick recap of the key differences we've discussed. Time. Japanese and Aztec myths see time as cyclical, but the Aztecs emphasize destruction, while the Japanese focus on stability. Norse mythology is linear and headed toward doom. Divine gender. Japanese mythology has a more balanced divine gender system, while Aztec and Norse systems are male-dominated. Violence. Japanese myths minimize violence, Aztec myths center on it, and Norse myths portray it as noble and inevitable. Modern influence. Japanese mythology. Japanese mythology has greatly influenced modern media. In anime and manga, stories like Naruto and Spirited Away are filled with gods, spirits, and nature-centered worlds. Shinto practices continue to influence festivals and shrines, keeping these myths alive today. Modern environmentalism in Japan often draws on the belief that nature is sacred. Modern influence. Aztec mythology. Aztec myths are still present in Mexican culture. You can see Aztec symbolism in the Mexican flag and Day of the Dead celebrations, which blend indigenous and colonial traditions. Aztec mythology appears in media such as Assassin's Creed and the film Apocalypto. There's a growing indigenous identity resurgence as modern Mexicans reconnect with their Aztec heritage. Modern influence. Norse mythology. Norse mythology remains incredibly popular in modern culture. Marvel's Thor and God of War bring Norse gods into the mainstream. There's also a rise in Viking revivalism and neopaganism, especially in Northern Europe. Fantasy literature, especially from Tolkien and Neil Gaiman, draws deeply from Norse themes of fate, valor, and apocalypse. Cultural revivals and national identity. Here's how these mythologies tie into national identity. Japan's myths are part of its cultural continuity, reinforcing connections to the past through festivals and rituals. Mexico uses Aztec mythology to reclaim post-colonial pride and raise awareness of indigenous identity. Scandinavia celebrates its Viking past through heritage tourism and reconstructed rituals, helping preserve cultural memory. Educational importance. Studying these mythologies offers us more than just fascinating stories. It fosters cross-cultural literacy, helping us understand the values of different cultures. It opens doors for comparative literary analysis, examining common themes and structures. And it invites us to compare ancient versus modern values, offering insight into how our beliefs have evolved. Ethical and historical insight. Learning from these myths provides ethical and historical insights. We reflect on colonization and how indigenous cultures survived and adapted. We respect oral traditions and indigenous perspectives. And we critically examine the romanticization or distortion of these myths over time. Visual comparison slide. Here's a visual breakdown comparing the deities, cosmology, afterlife, sacrifice, and apocalypse in these three mythologies. This chart highlights the key differences and similarities across cultures. Why we study mythology. Why study mythology at all? It helps us connect the past with the present, understanding how myths shape current worldviews. It challenges ethnocentric narratives and promotes global understanding. And, above all, it shows us how shared human imagination links cultures across time. Final thoughts. In conclusion, though these mythologies came from different corners of the world, they share common human themes: creation, fate, sacrifice, and the end of the world. Myths are more than just stories, they explain, inspire, and warn us. Through these timeless tales, civilizations live on. References. The information in this video presentation is drawn from reputable sources. Thank you for your attention.